narrative in the awesome galactic empire, striking from a frequency band hidden among the billions of talking heads. Rebel broadcasters have won their very first victory in the battle of truth. While the galaxy awakens to the reality of their corporate technocratic enslavement, the mask of illusions slip, revealing a face of lies. The Empire fears that another rebel victory would thrust thousands more into the rebellion, and imperial control over the galaxy would be lost forever. To crush the rebellion once and for all, the Empire is constructing a sinister new social paradigm, and the completion of this great reset spells certain doom for the champions of freedom, Bucky Dillon and Kevin LaRusso.
Bucky Dillon and Kevin LaRusso. Hey, what's up, guys?
How is it going, everyone? Good morning, good morning. Welcome to the second hour of the Liberty Revolt here on 1360 KHNC. We will be finishing up with Is Money the Root of All Evil tomorrow on the first hour, correct?
Jason believes it is. Guys, the call-in number 877-488-1360. You can call in, let us know. Brent, Janine, it's so good to see you guys, so bright and early. You guys always make it. I swear, I could go live at 3 in the morning and Brent's could be like, what's up, man?
Dude, it's nice to have, just
we do love
consistent support. We appreciate it. If anybody's interested, we have live streams going up for those of you who are not here in the Colorado area, not traveling. But money, he says money is the root of all evil. I
disagree.
I disagree as well.
I think the earth is round, and money, if acquired the right way, is the alternative to force. And I think that's a good thing.
I mean, yeah. But that could be said about a lot of things. I don't know. It's a difficult question because the real question is, what is the root of all evil? What is the root of all evil? And I don't think there is a singular root of
Jason
all
just
evil.
came to the window to show me a plate can be round and flat at the same time. Excellent. Yes. Janine says it's the love of money.
Yeah.
That is evil.
I would, and you know what? I would agree. I think it's a materialism. I think materialism is valuing material things above social relationships, above non-tangible things such as just having friends, having family, enjoying experiences.
But that's going to punish you.
Yeah, I think that materialism. You see, this is what I see a lot because projecting.
You could say the love of money is a sin. I don't know if the love of money is necessarily evil. If for example, my life would be better. My wife would be happy. Would really love it if I brought some money home, right? Yeah. Now, if I made money through the proper means by using my mind and my body to invest in the production and exchange process, if I made my money by doing something for someone what they could not do themselves, and they voluntarily gave me that money for me to perform that task. For example, I mentioned earlier, if I broke my phone, I would eagerly and voluntarily give Jeff Bezos another couple $100 to make sure that I had another phone.
Yeah, no, and it comes down to just what is the motivation, what is the intent behind things, and that's what it really comes down to for most things. Like, if your intent is good, chances are it's not evil. I mean, obviously, great, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but still, I think when it comes to money, especially, because what money allows for in today's age is to indulge in your materialistic desires, which is really what the problem is people want money so they can go buy more things and they can fill voids in their life that are being left there through the absence of social relationships, through the absence of community. Why do you want money? So that you don't have to worry about your house, so that you can enjoy the social aspects of your life, your communal aspects of life. If you only want money so that you can have more things, that's probably not the best. You see, I want to have a nice TV in my living room because I want to be able to invite people over to enjoy, to have, and then
ignore them when you both stare at the same screen.
Well, we watch. I watch Formula One. I love watching Formula One and stuff. And it allows me to enjoy something with someone else. But if it's purely just so I can say I have a bigger TV than you, it's probably not the best intentions. So I mean, it comes down to the reason why people want stuff. And I want money so that I can go to Vegas and lose it all. So that's why I want money, so that I can enjoy the community of sitting at a blackjack table and complaining that the guy next to me hit on a 17 and got a queen when I had an 11 sitting there and I ended up hitting and getting a 4. So, he stole my card, he busted, and at the end of the day, I'm pissed at him because I don't have any money anymore.
Oh,
Yes,
wow, excellent.
this is a true story that actually happened, and I was, guys, if you've ever been to Vegas, the situation I was in. I was at a blackjack table, it was hot, I was feeling good. The guy next to me sits down. Dude, this guy sat down next to me, immediately gets Delta 17, which everybody and their mother knows. You get Delta 17, you stay, right? You don't hit on that. The dude hit, he got a queen. I had an 11. It was crap. So yeah, that's why money is the root of all evil, because the jerk next to me doesn't know.
Good morning, Suni. Good morning, Rhonda. Good morning, Trey. So good to see you guys. If you guys missed the first hour, it's because we exclusively live streamed the second hour as a way of kind of putting, I don't want to call it a paywall, but an effort wall into hearing the whole show. If you guys want to hear the whole show, you have to go to 1360khnc.com. You're only catching the second half of this little episode.
Yeah, so if you like our conversations here, 1360khnc.com is the best place to get to listen to it. We would really appreciate it if you guys, if you're on the live stream, head over to 1360khnc.com. Check out our advertisers, the wonderful people that help support this show and the station. They provide great services. Not all of our advertisers are exclusive here to Northern Colorado. There are absolutely advertisers that we have that work across the country, such as EMP Shield down in Arizona. They will help protect your electronics from the dangers of EMPs. That's something that everybody can use. That is absolutely something that is a worthy investment if you actually are worried about the impending nuclear war that we are going to get into. Just kidding, obviously not.
Second segment coming up. We're going to talk, is money the root of all evil, and continue expounding upon this little video that I found. Coming up, 1360 KHNC, the Liberty Revolt live stream. So what's up, guys? Thanks for hanging out. Can you put that in the chat? Yeah, I can absolutely put that in the chat. Oh, check this one out. We don't get nearly enough of those. Awesome. Yeah, I love it. Love it. www.1360khnc.com.
Kids, when making those cool motor.
Also, if you guys are listening on the live stream, you want to do Kevin and I a huge personal favor. If you're at 1360khnc.com and you go to the contact page, you can go there and you can tell them that you enjoy the morning show. That really would earn us some brownie points and be cool for us. Yeah, I do think it is an interesting topic. I mean, honestly, you guys should look up "Is Money the Root of All Evil?" Mike Maloney reads Atlas Shrugged. Atlas Shrugged is a book that I'm being encouraged highly to read for my leadership program of the Rockies class. And I'm working my way through it. It is tough. It is a tough book. This thing is like 2 Bibles put together. And a lot of it is like erotica fiction. I swear. Ayn Rand just was like a total horn dog who was not satisfied, because like every 50 pages is another sex scene. And I'm like, why? Why do I need 2,000 pages of erotica fiction to explain to me that Bernie Sanders is a dickbag and we should allow capitalism to let us extract every ounce of genius and productivity from Elon Musk? Like, I get that. I don't need it. Who reads porn?
Money, 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 money. Yeah, no, is it the root of all evil?
Is it the root of all evil?
So it is, I believe it is 1 Timothy 6 says that money, there's a couple translations of it. One is money is a root of a lot of evils versus money is the root of all evils. And I think that's a very important distinction to make because like we've been talking about,
that completely changes it.
like it is.
These translations are, I mean, there's just so many different ways to read it, especially after it's been translated.
Well, that comes back to why it's so important to be precise in your speech, because small tweaks in the wording completely change the message if you're willing to actually break down what it's saying.
You need to be very, very specific. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed unless, of course, we come out with semi-automatic weapons. Yes,
exactly. And so when the Second Amendment added in the AR provision, because we all know the Founding Fathers were like, we want the people to be armed enough to stand against the government, but not so armed that they're actually a threat to the government. I believe that was their intent behind all of it. They wanted us to feel good, but not be strong. No. Shall not
the
be infringed.
For hunting, clearly.
Shall not be infringed.
All right, so this is from Is Money the Root of All Evil? Mike Maloney reads Atlas Shrugged. Here we go.
From any man who tells you that money is evil, that sentence is the leper's bell of an approaching looter. So long as men live together on earth and need means to deal with one another, their only substitute, if they abandon money, is the muzzle of a gun. But money demands of you the highest virtues if you wish to make it or keep it. Men who have no courage, pride, or self-esteem, men who have no moral sense of their right to their money, are not willing to defend it as they defend their life. Men who apologize for being rich will not remain rich for long. They are the natural bait for the swarms of looters that stay.
Yeah, this comes back to one of the key issues that a lot of people on the young socialist left don't understand about it. It's like, look, if you have a legitimately fair capitalist system, you can vote with your dollars. You don't need to like come out and punish companies through actual force. What we have,
if you care about the environment, stop going to Walmart and buying the cheapest crap from China.
Yeah, no, it's you.
That's a good question for China.
We have a system set up wherein we have the option as to whether or not we want to support a business's practices. Mm-hmm. And if we were able to educate people to the extent that they need to be educated on these kinds of things, it would not be a big deal. Like in an ideal world, in an ideal capitalist system, the minute you find out Nike's out there exploiting children in order to produce its goods, it would be easy to stop using Nike. But because of the way the government has gotten involved in the system and the way these organizations have been subsidized to the point where they are basically, it's not just banks that are too big to fail. Basically, every American company is too big to fail. Now, all of a sudden, you have a system where companies don't really have to care about what they're doing across the overseas because we've pushed them out over there, and we don't really punish them through the bank because.
Right. So we have all these left-wing friends, right, who are like, we need a Green New Deal. We need a 70% tax rate. We need a $15 minimum wage. We need paid family leave. We need all these things. And none of those things are inherently bad. It's bad when you force people, force businesses to implement those policies. And one of the key benefits of being rich, being a top corporation, is you have the luxury of moving if the conditions in your area aren't great, right? So you have these businesses that are thinking, gosh, I could pay for Pothead Joe to flunk out of gender studies 7 times in a row on my dime, or I could go to China and get rich. And then all these same lefties go to Walmart and they buy the cheapest crap made in China off the shelf.
Capitalism is evil, sent from iPhone.
No, seriously, like if you really care about progressive values, stop voting with your dollars to prop up communist regimes.
Yeah, seriously, it's it's very difficult.
Colin Kaepernick out here.
Yeah, no, it's become very difficult in today's day and age to not, but at the same time, it doesn't mean it's impossible to not support these things. It's I try when I can to avoid buying things made in China, although again, it's very difficult not to, especially with the way things are priced. And
hi,
just
I'm Colin Kaepernick.
um,
I'm a very mediocre football player, but I stand for social justice. That's why I'm sponsored by Nike, subsidized by the slave labor of minorities.
yeah,
I'm such a great guy. I'm a friendly little person. Let me give you moral advice.
yes, it comes down to the fact that we had a great comment here. This is why people need to know where they stand on moral issues. Stand on moral issues and be ready to back it up, because
somebody in the live stream just commented Colin Kaepernick. Sorry.
we have you need to know where you stand morally and be willing to stand by those principles. This is the problem that a lot of people, I've seen arguments. There was Timcast. I'm going to bring Jack Murphy up again because this is a separate issue. He was brought on. There was a time when Tim Pool was telling Colin, hey, or telling Jack, like, if you're against the vaccine, you must be against the vaccine. And Jack was like, he was like, look, my kids, I don't want my kids to have to get the vaccine, but they're student athletes. They need to get the vaccine in order to be able to participate and live out their dreams. It's like
they need to get the vaccine in order to have a heart attack.
It's like it comes down to, it's like, what are your principles? Why is it that you weren't getting it in the first place? And are you willing to stand by those principles even when it becomes the most difficult to? That's the whole point of having principles, right? If your principles disappear the moment they're actually getting challenged, you never had them in the first place. It's very easy to say that I'm for consent and I'm for bodily autonomy when you're not actually having to.
Right, when you're virtue signaling on Twitter.
Exactly, but it's very difficult to say it when there's actual things on the line, when you actually have to start considering how much sticking true to your principles is going to cost you materially, and deciding are my morals, are my principles more important to me than the material things around me. And I think that this is something that our society is really being challenged with, and it was one of the things that critics of capitalism were very astute on, was just like, what happens when you commodify everything to such an extent that the only thing people are worried about is materialism, is being able to use their money to, is being able to fulfill their dreams through material means. What happens when you eliminate the subtleties of life that make it so important? What happens when you eliminate people's desire to just interact with the world, when it becomes so much more important? You can sit on your couch and just watch TV all day, and I'm guilty of this. Or you could go out and be a contributing member of your community. There's a reason why our communities are dying, and it's because we have fallen victim to the convenience culture. We need to, if you do not know where your morals stand, if you do not know where your principles stand, there is nothing that's really going to stop you from being consumed.
Which is honestly what kind of encouraged Kevin and I to look more into the libertarian philosophy. Yeah. I think, honestly, the libertarian philosophy, for some of the problems we have with implementation and actually trying to figure out how to implement those policies we love, I do think it has the most consistent and principled moral foundation. I'm getting, my phone is just blowing up. Mickey Burns says, I'm a blasphemous round earther. Scientific proof the earth isn't flat. The cats would have pushed everything off the edge a long time ago. The firmament's name is Alice. Brian says, have you invited the perspective of someone who knows the full context of that scriptural passage? Money is the root of all evil. Brian, we just had Jason Walker come in during the commercial break and educate us. Okay, frankly,
yeah,
we don't need
Brian.
That from you.
Brian, I'd love to have you give us your input on this one, because
the call-in number for those listening, 877-488-1360. Join the conversation. We'd love to get your thoughts. Is money the root of all evil? We have a couple minutes left. Let me just play a little bit more of this video.
Under rocks for centuries, but come crawling out at the first smell of the man who begs to be forgiven for the guilt of owning wealth. They will hasten to relieve him of this guilt, and of his life as he deserves. Then you will see the rise of the men of the double standard, the men who live by force, yet count on those who live by trade to create the value of their looted money, the men who are the hitchhikers of virtue. In a moral society, these are the criminals, and the statutes are written to protect you against them. But when a society establishes criminals by right and looters by law, men who use force to seize the wealth of the disarmed victims, then money becomes its creator's avenger. Such looters believe it safe to rob defenseless men once they've passed a law to disarm them. But their loot becomes the magnet for other looters who get it from them as they got it. And then the race goes, not to the ablest at production, but to the most ruthless at brutality. When force is the standard, the murderer wins over the pickpocket, and then society vanishes in a spread of ruins and slaughter. Do you wish to know whether that day is coming? Watch money. Money is a barometer of a society's virtue. When you see that trade is done not by consent, but by compulsion, when you see that in order to produce, you need to obtain permission from men who produce nothing, when you see that money is flowing to those who deal not in goods, but in favors, when you see that men get richer by graft and by pull than by work, and your laws do not protect you against them, but protect them against you, when you see corruption being rewarded and honesty becoming a self-sacrifice, you may know that your society is doomed.
That's a powerful little part.
Is our society doomed, Bucky?
You know, we started having a little bit of conversation last night. Kevin and I went out to dinner with my wife and my daughter. And as all of you know, I'm sure I say it almost every dang day on the show, my wife is from China. And that's part of the reason that we talk about China so much. It's such an integral part of my life. Being exposed to the culture in China and having those conversations. And, Kevin was talking, and I think he correctly diagnosed that Chinese culture has been consistent and stable and intact for over 5,000 years. And you juxtapose that with American values, and we're a young country. We're 250 years old.
Incredibly young. We're still figuring this thing out.
Right. It's interesting. You can go to downtown Detroit and see some kind of old buildings. And if you're an American, those are about as old as the buildings as you can see, right? And then you go over to Xi'an, China, and you, in the center of the city, have a 3,000-year-old temple with a 7-lane roundabout with no signs surrounding it, and then skyscrapers that are 30 stories tall with spiraling escalators and giant TV screens like Times Square. And you're like, this is an interesting kind of place where the culture and the language has been so intact and is still intact to this day from thousands of years ago. My wife's city is the city with the terracotta army. But anyways, not to get too far off on a tangent here, but we were talking about is our society doomed? Is American civilization an experiment that's going to collapse in on itself? And is China's civilization one that's going to continue to stay intact and develop throughout the ages? We'll expand more on that when we come back from the break. Liberty Revolt 1360 KHNC.
Be careful when you're dealing with a conspiracy theorist. You may end up with a whole lot more truth than you're used to handling. This has been a public service announcement from KHNC.
The Hebo Tea Club's original pure.
Anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. The call-in number, 877, I'm going to put it right here, 877-488. Oh, wait. I don't know what happened to Kevin. 877-488-1360. feed. So here you go. This is a call-in number, so you can call into the show and be on the radio with us. Brian says, "I wasn't suggesting myself, you loon." I don't know what happened with Kevin's camera. Kevin has been abducted by aliens. I know. Take one look at that guy. You see a prime candidate for probing. Certainly. I'm going to go check it out. Guys, don't go anywhere. I'm going to be right back. We good. We all good.
Society is not crashing. We're headed for the dark ages.
Come say hi. Come say hi, everybody.
Are you good there? Oh, you're seeing in front of camera.
Yeah. Come say hi.
Hello. Can they hear me? Hello.
Yes, they can.
I'm Jason. The Earth is flat, and the world's not coming to an end.
We're going into the dark ages.
We're going into the dark ages for about 50 to 100 years. And then a new Messiah will come and free the world. The next Jesus will be upon us next century.
But he's going to start off with the 7 to 9 a.m. morning show.
Hey, at 2:22, the Antichrist will be born, right?
It's true, but you know my wife is pregnant.
Is she?
No, she's not.
I don't think the Antichrist is born in the traditional way. I think he just appeared. I think he's fully grown once he shows.
Everybody's saying hello to you, Cindy, Janine. Fuck you, Dylan. Kevin LaRusso.
What up?
Walker was just in here saying what's up to our people on the live stream. We're so glad to be hanging out with y'all today. You can find us 1360khhc.com. You can also go to facebook.com/Revolt and check out the live stream. Just look up my name, Bucky Dylan. You'll find me online. Real easy. Oh, Jason wants to jump in.
Jason's hopping in here. Jason's hop. Give
You've
me
been
1 second.
hijacked. You've been hijacked. All right, I'm going to continue this video. I think I got the right video set up for you. Okay. All right, here we go.
Money is so noble a medium, it does not compete with guns and it does not make terms with brutality.
You don't have to put a camera on me.
It will not permit a country to survive as half property, half loot. Whenever destroyers appear among men, they start by destroying money. For money is men's protection and the base of a moral existence. Destroyers seize gold and leave to its owners a counterfeit pile of paper. This kills all objective standards and delivers men into the arbitrary power of an arbitrary setter of values. Gold was an objective value, an equivalent of wealth produced. Paper is a mortgage on wealth that does not exist, backed by a gun aimed at those who are expected to produce it. Paper is a check drawn by legal looters upon an account which is not theirs, upon the virtue of the victims. Watch for the day when it bounces, marked account overdrawn. When you have made evil the means of survival, do not expect men to remain good. Do not expect them to stay moral and lose their lives for the purpose of becoming the fodder of the immoral. Do not expect them to produce when production is punished and looting rewarded.
Yeah, it's when you don't have some kind of value that you can like when there is no value in compensation for your actions, when there is no way for you to actually, or there's no incentive for you to produce, when there's no incentive for you to go out there and try to come up with some way to voluntarily earn people's money, the alternative is violence, is coercion. So
well, and to expand upon that a little bit more, when he's saying when looting is rewarded and honesty punished, what he's saying is when you get rich, for example, in a socialist system, not by starting a business and producing a product that people voluntarily want to exchange their money for, but instead you create a system in which the government's picking winners and losers.
Yeah.
And the way to get rich is to make backroom deals with politicians, right? Or regulatory capture, or to let big pharma regulate their own products and buy off the media so that they can shut down any talk of natural immunity or alternative therapeutics.
Yeah.
Right? Your society may well be doomed.
Is this thing on? I don't even know. Is this on?
There you go.
I can hear myself.
I
I heard you guys coming in, and as I was getting ready for the shows I'll be doing in the next few hours, this is a conversation I've had with many people. I believe money is the root of evil, but money is not evil. And I discussed this with the guys when I came in on the break. Let me give an example of true evil or pure evil. If you've watched the old Batman movie, The Dark Knight,
Ooh.
It was the
old Batman.
I'm talking about the Heath Ledger.
No, I know, but that doesn't that came out when I was in middle school or high school, so calling it old just makes me feel old.
Well, I think
all right, come on, Grandpa, let's hear
2008.
So the Joker in that movie did nothing for money. He simply created chaos out of the joy of his evil adventures. That is evil that's not being, it's not motivated by money.
Mm-hmm.
However, most evils are created out of want.
Yeah.
There's something that is wanted, and usually money creates a way of getting that want. And that's why the money is the root of evil. I know that people say,
Are
the
guns
love
the
of
root
money.
of evil?
I'm sorry?
Guns are a tool just like money.
See, so money is a tool. So you guys are right on that. Money is a tool. So a gun is not evil. Obviously, you put that in the hands of somebody that wants to rob somebody for that want of money. Now the root of the evil is the money, and the tool to be evil is the gun and the money.
Not necessarily. I mean, for example, you could say that, yes, so some people utilize slavery to create a product that they could then sell for money, but not necessarily. A lot of times, slavery came in the form of, for example, rape or sex slavery, right? There's no money involved. There's no financial transaction. The evil came from the heart of the man who perpetrated that.
Yeah,
that's correct. A rapist could be purely evil, but most rapists are doing evil things because they need money to let's just say that Jeffrey Dahmer. He wasn't a financial evil person, but if he didn't have an apartment and he didn't have resources and he was able to keep himself isolated from all of his neighbors for as long as he did until he smelled the dead bodies, without money, he could not have done all those things. Can you imagine if someone gave Jeffrey Dahmer $1 billion? He could have funded a team of these murderers, and the evil would have been much worse than just one guy doing it.
There once was a time in human existence where we did not have money. Right, hunting and gathering. There was still slavery. There was still rape.
There was still bartering.
But the money would be a rock or like a shiny thing, though. So there was still the love of money, or there was the crimes of money. If one caveman's got the golden rock and the other caveman doesn't have it, kind of Cain and Abel sort of thing. Cain killed his brother. Yeah,
they're
still going to have that.
The thing is that money allows for people to like we said before. Money allows for people to be able to live out their evil goals. The Dark Knight was actually a really good example, because you have the Joker who takes half of the criminals' money and literally just burns it in front of them, and they're all very upset about this. They're all, because they're mafiosos, they're financial, they're bad accountants and stuff like this. They're people that are motivated purely by a desire to have money so that they can purchase bigger homes, more cars, more stuff.
Here's another example. In a purely socialist society, which is actually, if people were not selfish, and people are always going to be selfish, a purely social society works. All you have to do if you look at an anthill, you see a perfectly working socialist society. In a perfect social society, if you are sharing all of the goods and services available, there would be no crime because there'd be no money. In a purely social society, there'd be no money nobody would need to rob their neighbor to get the things they wanted. If they wanted to become a motorcycle racer, if they wanted to become a whatever it is they dream, a musician, those assets would be shared amongst the society, and there would be no money, and the crime would be almost zero. The problem is there's always somebody out there that wants more. Well, that's why socialism doesn't work.
But even in your system, who's going to want to be producing the coal to power the power plants? Who's going to be wanting to?
So with technology, only 3% of society would have to work, and those people would volunteer their time because that would be their passion to help their society run. So if you allow the technology to do good, instead of having a cell phone that surveils you and is bad for you, you have a smartphone that actually brings technology and freedom to people, and all these other technologies that are not available to us, but they exist. If you let humanity go where it's supposed to go without money, things would be a lot better. But we have money in this, and then we have greedy people in countries and banks.
But the thing is those 3% of people that would have to still do those jobs, how would you incentivize them to do those jobs when everybody else?
Love of society. There's a lot of very, very special people out there that love their fellow man.
We're gonna continue on this thought point when we get back. You're listening to the Liberty Revolt on 1360 KHNC.
People think they can't afford to invest in gold and silver. But at the Patriot Trading Group, we believe that everyone should have the opportunity to own hard assets. That's why we...
But I'm going
to... In a technologically advanced society, the 3% that works would do that out of the love of working. They would be making decisions. They'd have that. They'd be the administrators of the society.
But they'd purely be doing it out of a love of it, but would they be the most qualified? You want the most qualified people to do the job.
That society, if it could exist, the talented people for every part of society would rise to that.
Yeah.
If you wanted to be a football player, you would be, you would either be a good one or not bad one based on your skill.
But would they deserve extra compared to the 97% that don't want that? But that's the issue.
There would be no money, and there would be no want, because if I'm one of the 3% that's working, but on I have a hobby on the side, I want to do painting. All of the needs of my hobby of painting would be supplied for me, because we should be, instead of in a monetary system, we should be in a resource-based system. We are not in a resource-based system because there's too many people at the top that own all the resources, and we don't have access to those resources.
Well, just doing it for the love of society is, because I am gonna, I'm gonna answer you some questions when we come back on air. It's
3% would do that, dude. Absolutely.
Yeah, but they
all the
only for a little bit until they realize, wait, I'm the only one that's actually contributing. Everybody else is just.
Then you'd be like, I don't want to do this anymore, and somebody would take your position.
And why would they? Because they saw you not want to do it anymore.
Well, if all of your wants and needs are provided for, there would be easily, I think there'd be a line of people that would want to be, hey, I want to be somebody that helps us make decisions and make sure that our supply lines, because these cities, they would build cities in circles. They'd remanufacture cities. Whoever's heavy in gold, or whoever's heavy in coal, whoever's heavy in whatever commodities, those cities would make sure to provide in a social society. Hey, Russia doesn't have enough of this. We got to make sure the supply line of our wealth gets there. It would work. Well, like I said, humanity. Not a lot of
It would be exactly like Hunger Games. Well, oh.
And we're back.
We're back.
We have a caller. I'm going to go ahead and put the caller right here on the air. Caller, tell us your name, where you are calling from, and give us your thoughts real quick. Try to keep it under 2 minutes. You're on the air.
Lucky Kevin.
You're coming through a little.
Right.
You're cutting out really, really bad.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. This is Nick. I'm in Windsor. I was going to say that the, wealth, money, and more specifically wealth is a great way by which you can make the world a better place as well.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of Ayn Rand's point. For what she's getting at is, if you can incentivize greedy people in order to, live out their greed, they have to be providing a service that people want and for people need. You can take what would normally be negative intentions and turn it into a net positive. The idea that greed is actually a good, because in a capitalist society, greed is actually good because you're required to provide a service in order for people to voluntarily give over all of their money to you. It's
in the absence of the government stealing and redistributing the money, all that money that you get has to be earned.
Yes.
Yes, land services.
All right, let's.
And then to the point with true for property crimes, but there is always scarcity of humans.
I honestly think that if go ahead. I honestly think that if you were to give human beings all of the resources they needed to be materially happy, they would go forth and tyrannize each other just for the entertainment.
That's exactly right. That's exactly. So, and I talked about a purely socialist society. It would work. The problem is human nature. That's what Bucky just said. Human nature destroys the ability of a social society. And a capitalist society, the problem is it's for profit, for a monetary system. When you have a monetary system, it's for the gain of money, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because the money buys you the resources.
There's a difference between a monetary system and capitalist.
A resource-based,
socioeconomic
Bill, in a
system.
resource-based society, with the sharing of resources would be better than a monetary-based system. That's what we don't have. If we had a resource-based society instead of a monetary-based society,
Without resources to trade, money is useless.
correct. So you can still work for profit, but you can only consume so much food. You can only consume so much gasoline and so forth. So if the goal is to make yourself wealthy with resources instead of money, the capitalist system would work much better. The problem is we have central banks that has monetized everything and have taken all the resources. That's why we're failing. That's why you guys feel like we're failing.
It's actually going to get into that a little bit. Thank you so much for the call, man. Really do appreciate it. This video is actually going to get into it. I really want to finish it. We have a few minutes left. Here we go.
Do not ask, who is destroying the world? You are. You stand in the midst of the greatest achievement of the greatest productive civilization and wonder why it is crumbling around you. Well, you're damning its lifeblood, money. You look upon money as the savages did before you, and you wonder why the jungle is creeping back to the edges of your cities. Throughout men's history, money was always seized by looters of one brand or another whose names changed, but whose methods remained the same: to seize wealth by force and to keep the producers bound, demeaned, defamed, and deprived of honor. That phrase about the evil of money, which you mouth with such righteous recklessness, comes from a time when wealth was produced by the labor of slaves. Slaves who repeated the notions once discovered by somebody's mind and left unimproved for centuries. So long as production was ruled by force and wealth was obtained by conquest, there was little to conquer. Yet, through all the centuries of stagnation and starvation, men exalted the leaders as aristocrats of the sword, as aristocrats of birth, as aristocrats of the bureau, and despised the producers as slaves, as traders, as shopkeepers, as industrious.
The last break, so it'll be a couple
To the glory of mankind.
encourage that behavior just once in a while.
To the glory of mankind, there was, for the first and only time in history, a country of money. And I have no more reverent tribute to pay to America, for this means a country of reason, justice, freedom, production, achievement. For the first time, man's mind and money were set free, and there were no fortunes made by conquest, but only fortunes made by work. And instead of swordsmen and slaves, there appeared the real makers of wealth, the greatest worker, the highest type of human being, the self-made man, the American industrialist. If you ask me to name the proudest distinction of Americans, I would choose, because it contains all the others, the fact that they were the people who created the phrase, to make money. No other language nor nation has ever used these words before. Men had always thought of wealth as a static quantity to be seized, begged, inherited, shared, looted, or obtained as a favor. Americans were the first to understand that wealth has to be created. The words to make money hold the essence of human morality. Yet these were the words for which Americans were denounced by the rotted cultures of the looters' continents. Now the looters' credo has brought you to regard your proudest achievements as a hallmark of shame. Your prosperity as guilt, your greatest men, the industrialists, as blackguards, and your magnificent factories as the product and property of muscular labor, the labor of whip-driven slaves like the pyramids of Egypt. The rotter who simpers that he sees no difference between the power of the dollar and the power of the whip ought to learn the difference on his own hide, as I think he will. Until and unless you discover that money is the root of all good, you ask for your own destruction. When money ceases to be the tool by which men deal with one another, then men become the tools of men. Blood, whips and guns, or dollars. Take your choice. There is no other, and your time is running out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome there, Mr. Reader. It sounded like RFK almost for a second there.
I actually agree with him. So money can be the root of all good. It's the same as the money being the root of all evil. Money can be used either way. So the guy's pretty smart. So he's a smart dude.
Yeah, well, this is just a bit from
Passage from Atlas Shrugged.
yeah. Ayn Rand. She knew what she was talking about in that if you can angle the system towards acknowledging, hey, people are generally bad. Well, not generally, but there's generally bad people out there.
Aspects of human nature,
Yeah.
like greed, selfishness,
Yeah.
And all these things that you can't do away with. So the only way to structure an economy so that you get rich is a capitalist economy in which you have to serve others for the acquisition of money. And Jason, you would really like, because during the video during this clip, he's playing video, and when he's talking about the looters, they literally have images of like the Federal Reserve, pictures and politicians and backroom deals and regulators.
And that's the problem with central banking. They produce nothing.
They don't.
That is why they're so evil. Central banking is an evil scourge upon the earth. And when they established it, the Rothschilds in the 1600s, it's been with us. On the next hour on the Patriot Trading News Hour, I'm going to go into, who had the currency of the day. In every 100 years or so, it was changed from another country to another country because they don't want to be found out. These central bankers, when they figure out society that they're being stolen from, they end up hanging the bankers in centuries past. But now we just accept it.
Yeah, we have centralized banks right now that are driving up inflation to incredible heights, and you have modern monetary theory, which tries to convince you that no, in fact, the best mechanism to maintain your economy and save it is through a centralized bank. It's actually the best way to protect yourself is to just keep printing more money and to control the currency. That's
I'm going to say it again. I said this in the last two episodes in a row. I've said the same thing. What we had when we established this central bank is we gave the power to private entities the ability to, and they under the guise of their ability to artificially navigate us out of depressions, we gave them the ability to create depression.
exactly.
And to inflate the currency, which essentially is a nefarious tax in which they can take the value of the money from the masses and hand it to themselves and pay off their constituents or do whatever they want with it. It's a way of transferring money from the masses to those closest to the printing press, and they can create these booms where people feel like they're financially set. They feel like they can take some risks with their money, and inevitably a certain percentage of the people overextend themselves taking out loans, and then they intentionally crash the economy, knowing that certain percentage is going to default on those loans, and then they can seize their assets, they can plunge the economy into a depression, and then they can turn around and say, well, if only we can bail you out if only you sign up for these New Deal government welfare dependency programs. Just give up a little bit more of your sovereignty. Just give up a little bit more of your freedoms. Just give up a little bit more of your self-sufficiency, and it'll all be all right. And then when people start to get upset, when the pitchforks start coming out, they plunge the economy back into a boom, and everybody forgets about what they did before. And then again, they just repeat this cycle over and over until they have systematically seized all of the assets of the country. They've destroyed all of the economy's ability to produce self-made men, and then only the companies that they want to survive can survive, and the whole system is rigged. The whole thing is rigged, and they don't care about you.
No, there is no love.
I was just say, our founding fathers tried to, a couple of them, Jefferson, tried to avoid the central banking problem. He wanted an amendment to the Constitution that took from the federal government the power of borrowing money. If that would have been in place, I still think the bankers probably would have somehow done an end around. But that would have we would have been a much more powerful and much more free society if they could have achieved that. Instead, Alexander Hamilton said, "Well, we're not going to be 13 colonies turning into 13 states unless you get rid of that." And thank you for Aaron Burr for shooting that guy dead, because I mean that guy was a cancer. He was a founding father born in England. He was more worried about his relatives and friends in England than he was worried about this new country. And I wish Thomas Jefferson. That's the one thing you wished we could have had that amendment.
Yeah.
Thomas Jefferson said, and I quote, "I believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies because of how they could rig the system, just like I just explained." Brian texts, he says, "The gods must be crazy. Movie with the stray Coke bottle from the sky that becomes a lusted over object of peaceful members of an African tribe."
I've seen that.
What is he referring to?
I don't remember the movie, but I remember that it disrupted this African tribe's whole society. And this Coke bottle fell out of some airplane. They weren't a civilized society. They were they were primitive, and so that this Coke bottle became the focus of their entire society, and it really just messed them up
because it fell out of the sky. This thing that did not appear in nature.
Yes, God presented it to them, and who was going to be the holder of the bottle? Yeah, there you go. That's a central bank. I mean, the last thing is Andrew Jackson, my favorite president. He got rid of the second central bank. I mean, early on. I mean, as soon as the Constitution was inked, 2 years later, bang, a central bank. The people of this country got rid of it, and then we had to fight the War of 1812, and that was all about central banking. And then
the Rothschilds promised they would plunge us into a most disastrous war if we did not ratify the banking.
And the debt of that war plunged us into a second bank, and the second bank in the United States is the one that Andrew Jackson came in and destroyed. Basically bought us freedom for about 80 years. The Civil War, World War I, World War II, all these wars are about the central bankers gaining power.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today on the Liberty. Thank you, Jason, for coming on with us. Thank you all for listening.
It took us 2 hours to get through a 10-minute video.
That's how you do it. We will be back here, same time, same place, the Liberty Revolt on 1360 KHNC.
Do you want amazing Greek food with a great atmosphere and customer service? Well, Cafe Athens has got your back. Call them at 970.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us, guys. I sure do appreciate spending my mornings with you each and every day. By the way, if you want me to stop by, just go ahead and call 970-825-9305. I'm working with Pride Roofing and Construction. We'd love to come down and give you a routine maintenance inspection on your property. Again, that phone number, 970-825-9305. I will personally come do the inspection. I hope you guys have the most wonderful day. God bless you.